What's up guys, it's Austin here from Reptile Creation, and today's Saturday Snake School we're going to be talking about your snake size and the tub it's going to be in, because I hear a lot of people talking about when you should move up a snake or what size tub a snake should be in, and a lot of it just doesn't make sense to me because we do it a little bit different here and our animals eat amazingly here. So if you guys are having any trouble with your animals eating, it might be due to the tub size. We're going to cover that right now. So right now we're in our little hatchling section and we have these mini 130 ARS racks. This is probably one of the best hatchling racks that we recommend here for your hatchlings. And as you can see, we have a hatchling spot nose ultramode clown here, and this guy actually just came out of the egg box yesterday. We put him in here, added a little bit of cocoa and some water, but you can see it, the snake is all the way in the back, the darkest point, all the way from all the light, and really balled up in the corner. Ball pythons feel a lot more comfortable when they're in smaller spaces, and that's why we use smaller bins for smaller snakes. And this bin seems pretty small, but this one can actually go from a snake anywhere from 60 to 50 grams all the way to about 500 grams. That's where we're pushing it inside of these ones. I can show you another snake that is around probably the 100 to 200 gram range. Here we have an enhancer clown, and you can see this is about 220 gram ball python, and there's still plenty of space inside of this tub up until it reaches about 400 grams, where it can cover majority of this area. That's when we're going to move it up. And generally what you're looking for when a really skinny and long tub like this, you want to see that your snake covers at least 1/3 to about halfway of the tub. That's when it's ready for an upgrade. A lot of you guys might think that's a little bit too big for this tub. The snake still has plenty of room to thermoregulate, go to the hot side and the cold side, get water, and eat comfortably, especially with these ones, just because how tall they are gives them a little bit more depth and a little more space so they can move around. So now we're out in the whole back room where we started the video, and if you look right here, this is where we take our females and males that we're growing up and holding back, and we put them into a little bit a bigger tub. This is a 1065 rack, and you can see this is about a 300, maybe 250 gram ball python. The reason we moved it up a little bit early is because we're running out of space inside of the hatching room. You guys are in the hatching area. You guys can see how many snakes were in there and just how jam-packed it was. So we did have to move up a little bit early, but that's no problem for the 1065 tubs. These you can actually go and skip the hatchling tubs if you have the space and you already have one of these. You don't have to buy a hatchling rack. This is actually amazing for hatchlings. We used these up until 2018 only for hatchlings. Then we got the Serpent Stacks racks. Now we have the ARS Mini 130s. But the ARS 1065s were great for hatchlings as well. Sometimes they could be a little bit more of a picky eater just because of all the extra space inside. And if you're having a little bit of a picky eater, all you want to do is put a hide in just to give it a little more security and give it a little bit more of a smaller space in the back. But generally, a 1065 tub can go all the way from a hatchling, but we prefer something around 250 to 300 grams, all the way up to about 1,000, even 1,200 grams. And I just wanted to show you what a couple of bigger snakes look like inside of here. So here we have about a 700 gram cinnamon mocha leopard het clown, and you can see 700 grams. There's still plenty of room in the back. He's not even taking up 50% of the tub yet, and can still wrap around the water bowl and looks just very comfortable in here. If we move up just a little bit more, here we have a pastel leopard, 66% het enhancer and 50% het for pied. Looks like it's going to prove out for both, but besides that, the snake's more around 900 grams to 1,000 grams. You can see it's a little bit less space around the water bowl, but it can still bowl wrap fine, and it is pushing a little bit more into that halfway mark of the tub, but as you can see, he just moved around fine. This guy eats amazing, and a lot of the other babies that we actually have, or a lot of the other holdbacks that we actually have inside of this rack, are generally around the same size. But then if you look at the very end over here, this is where we have the biggest females that we keep inside of the 1065 bins, and we'll pull one out right here. Here we have about a 1,200 gram Mojave yellow belly pied. And looking at this girl right now, you can see she is taking up more than half of the bin. And we generally only leave females in here past 1,000 is if at 1,000 we move them up to the bigger tub and they don't eat. So if they don't eat in the bigger tub, we bring them back down into here, and then we keep them till about 1,300 grams till they're really squished in here. Then we go and move them back up, just because when they move back up, they don't have as much space as they would if they were 1,000 grams, because now they're 1,300 grams. So it just gives them a lot more security and makes them feel more safe in those larger tubs. So now we're inside of our breeder female room, and you might notice that we have no more ARS in here. So you got freedom breeder racks, and we actually have 3 different types of freedom breeder racks. Before I tell you those, I want to take a little step back and just talk about the mini 130s that I showed you with the hatchlings. Those are ARS racks. There is a very similar rack with the freedom breeder, which I do not recommend. I do recommend the mini 130 a little bit better, but there is the FB5 racks that have very similar tubs, a little bit more skinnier and a little bit less space. I'm not too sure if it comes with the rack yet or it's just the tubs, but you can check those out, Freedom Breeder FB5 tubs. And then comparable to the 1065 rack from ARS, we got the Freedom Breeder 10 rack, and it's pretty much exactly the same. And you can actually see we do have some ARS bins inside of here, and they work perfectly interchangeable, both racks do. The only difference is the Freedom Breeder tubs inside of the ARS rack, when you do put them in all the way, they stick out just a little bit like that. So keep that in mind, but the ARS do fit perfectly inside of here, which is just really cool to have them interchangeable and swapping. But this is what we use for our smaller males. Once again, we can put them all the way up to about 1,000, 12, 1,300 grams inside of here. And then we have one more thing before we move it into the big ones over here, the FB40s. We actually have the FB113320, and it's a lot of numbers in there, but basically it's a 33 bin rack with 20 ounce tubs. And if you look at the tubs, they're pretty cool. This is where we store a lot of our bigger males that are around 1,000, 1,100 grams. And we even go and keep some smaller females in here as well. And a lot of you guys think females have to be like 1,600 grams to go and lay. But right here we have a 900 gram female on eggs. And you guys must be like, oh, she's gonna give you 1 or 2 eggs. At 900 grams, she actually gave us 1, 2, 3, 4 really big eggs. So they're not small eggs, they won't be small babies, and it's not like a 1-2 egg clutch. It was a 4 egg clutch from a 900 gram female. And we just started pairing her a little bit early for a little bit of a backstory. She stopped eating, we didn't think much of it. She was still able to go. Usually we like to pair our females around 1,100 grams, and she was probably 1,100 grams when we started. But now since she expelled her eggs, she's around 900, maybe even 800 grams. And we even had another one in here, very small female lay before. You can see that is a very small black head pastel. And notice we have the laid thing here because she too laid 4 eggs inside of this rack. So this is a really versatile rack. If you have smaller females that are inside of that range that you want to breed, but when you put them into the bigger tubs, they don't eat, the 113320 rack is great for that. And the only thing that Freedom Breeder has on ARS, in my opinion, because we don't have one of these inside of the ARS yet. So really cool tub. It's a really good in-between size, and you can actually hold snakes in here that are pretty big as well. Here we have a 1,400 or 1,500 gram, maybe even 1,700 grams. She's pretty big. Pastel yellow belly dreamsicle, and as you can see, she's thriving here, eating well. She has enough space to wrap around the bowl, thermoregulate, and it's just really good husbandry for these snakes. And it's really good in between size, and as you can see, we even pair inside of here. So here we have an Enchi doublehead ultramode clown going to a pastel leopard ultramode clown, and fingers crossed, hopefully we can get some really cool ultramode clown combos. But the FB113320 is the rack for you if you guys are looking for an in-between, the hatchling racks or the whole back racks that we were talking about earlier, before you get into these big FB30s and FB40s and 50 racks. So here we have the FB40 racks, and if you look at ours, majority of the top 11 levels are FB40s and the bottom 3 are FB70s. The cool thing about Freedom Breeder racks is that the 70 series and the 40 series, they're exactly the same width and length, so they fit interchangeably on top of each other, and you can customize your racks kind of like what we did here. We just found it easier to have the bigger snakes at the bottom because they're heavier, and skinnier ones on top because they're lighter. Pulling them down won't be as hard. And speaking of the lighter ones, so here we have the FB40 racks, and as you can see, they're home to some bigger ball pythons, but not the very biggest. These ones are in that range from about 1,500 grams maybe even 1,300 grams, all the way up to about 3,000 grams. We'll keep them inside of these tubs. Anything bigger is just a little too big of a snake to keep in here. We find that the 1,500 to 3,000 gram range is just perfect. They have enough space to thermoregulate, bowl wrap. You can see this one doing some similar bowl wrapping. A lot of times we notice these where they just go and put both sides of their body on one side of the water bowl, and this is another thing they do when they're building follicles and stuff. So we're gonna ultrasound later this week. Hopefully this grows building. It'd be really good for us for the future. But as you see, these are pretty big racks. And then if you go to the bottom here, these are the FV70s, and you can just see the monster of a female this is. This is a 5,000 gram het ultramo girl, and in the bottom here, we comfortably hold the snakes from 2,500 grams all the way to about 6,000 grams, and 6,000 grams is the largest ball python that we have here. Haven't heard of many of them getting much bigger than that, but even a 5,000 gram ball python does look very big and does need its space. So something like this is perfect. Once again, you can notice that the snake only covers about half of the tub and has enough space to go all the way on the cool side if she wanted to, or all the way on the hot side. Bowl wrap, and just enough depth as well, because depth is something you want in your ball pythons. You don't want them being just squished together at the top and not able to go and turn around and stuff. They do need space to turn and move a little bit, even inside of the racks. But those are really good options from the Freedom Breeder. There are very similar ones from the ARS as well, and if we go over here, I can show you guys that here we have an ARS 1055. So this is almost identical to what I was showing you guys here with the Freedom Breeder FV40s. There's only one difference, that ARS actually has a little bit of a smaller tub as well. So they have the 1040 rack, which personally in my opinion is the best breeder rack for your females. These are a little bit too big for some of the females, hence why we have the smaller in-betweens, which I like a lot for breeding the smaller females. But even if you guys are just going with Sterilite tubs, you can easily gauge whether or not the female is going to be big enough for the tub by just looking at her size once again. So you want that snake to be less than half the size or 1/3 of the size of the tub, especially if it's a smaller snake. The bigger they are, they feel more secure in smaller spots. They don't need to move around as much. So you can get away with holding something like this once again, 3,000 or 5,000 gram snake inside of a smaller tub. Doesn't move around as much, still has enough space to move around and get what it needs to get done. Because the biggest thing with the space wise, especially if it's a bigger snake in a smaller tub, you want to be able to ensure that snake can thermoregulate and eat still, because while they're eating they do need to move their head in certain ways and even the rest of their body to go and push it all the way down their body. And I hope this helps you guys know exactly what size tub to keep your snakes in. But there always is outliers to the rules. Like we said earlier, if they're not eating in a bigger tub, moving them down to a smaller one can definitely help. This is just one more husbandry tip for you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed today's Saturday school. And that's going to be it. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Stay tuned for the next one, and hit me down in the comment section below. Let us know what you guys want to see on a Saturday snake school video. Peace out.